Today, hell was let loose on the headquarters of the People's Democratic Party as supporters of the two men jostling for the party's national secretary seat engaged in a scuffle. And following the suspension of Max Air operations after the Kano Airport incident, we speak with the regulator on the safety of our airspace. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbalwe here in Abuja. So much to talk about. On one hand, we're following what is happening in the People's Democratic Party. For you saw literally members of the party in a scuffle. And what was this about? Supporters of Mr. Uday and supporters of Mr. Ayaw engaging in this sort of show of shame, if you may call it. For what purpose? I mean, this is supposed to be the headquarters of Nigeria's main opposition political party, and this sort of thing is happening. We'll be giving you insight into what the reconciliation process is all about. A member of the reconciliation committee of the party, a big week in the party, will be speaking to us tonight on the program. And of course, we are asking, is the Nigerian airspace safe enough? From what we heard and what we've seen, with the regulators clamping or coming down hard on Max Air and its operation, what exactly is going on? We'll be hearing from the operator also tonight. But first, before we get into all of that, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
Justice Marilyn Aneni of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, Abuja, has adjourned the trial of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello to the 3rd of April, following the commencement of the first witness testimony by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Justice Aneni adjourned the case for continuation of hearing after the first witness, Fabian Wora, the property developer, was called to testify. Some protesters under the aegis of End Bad Governance movement today stormed the Federal High Court, Abuja, demanding the release of detained protesters in the August 2024 nationwide protest, including the immediate release of activist and journalist Omoyele Sowore. Protesters who stormed the court amid heavy police presence expressed frustration over what they termed misplaced priorities by the authorities. Addressing journalists, rights activist Mrs. Eneobi called for an end to the weaponization of the judiciary against government critics.
We need to end bad governance. What we are asking for is to release all those who are detained across the country and drop all the charges across the country. Our colleagues in Kaduna, they were kept for 10 weeks by DSS and released. They only took, can you imagine keeping people 10 weeks without trial? And now we have our colleagues here. Now Sowore is being picked for saying what?
The Federal High Court sitting in Ado-Ekiti has struck out the criminal charge filed by the police against Lagos-based legal practitioner and author Dele Farotimi. Justice Babs Kwewumi struck out the charge following an application by the police prosecutor Samson Osobu. Osobu told the court that the prosecution had filed a notice of discontinuance. However, there was no objection from lawyers to Farotimi, led by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Adeyinka Olumide Fusika. This paved the way for Justice Kwewumi to strike out the case.
Thank you so much, and there you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories. Our political quiz tonight. The question is, in what year was the first coup d'etat carried out in Nigeria? Is it 1960, 1963, 1966, or 1970? If you're a good student of history, you should know. We'll be getting to give you the answer before the end of the program tonight. Tonight, I told you, I'll be giving you insight into what happened on one hand in the People's Democratic Party and, of course, in in Kano, where, of course, we saw a Max Air, which has suspended its operations for 3 months following an incident involving one of the aircraft of the local carrier, the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport. The spokesperson of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, Michael Ashimogu, in a statement, says that after the Tuesday night incident at the Kano airport, the flight Max Air B734 operated by the aircraft with registration Max 59 MBD on landing at the airport at about 10:51 p.m. suffered a wheel landing gear collapse and tire burst while landing on the runway at the airport, throwing passengers into panic. However, the 6 crew members and the 3 passengers on board did not suffer any major injuries during the incident. According to the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, the runway has been cleared and flight operations have resumed at the airport. The regulator says the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has also initiated an investigation into the occurrence. A big question mark. If seeing what happened in Korea, what happened in some other countries, and in fact in some part of America, and issues relating to incidents at the airport. But the question here is, how safe is the Nigerian airspace? I'm being joined tonight by the acting director general of the NCAA, Captain Chris Najoma, live joining us on the program. Thank you so much, Captain Najoma, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sheil. Thank you.
Before I even get into the conversation about the Max Air incident, for those of us who fly quite often, locally, internationally, the question you want to ask yourself is, wait a minute, is the Nigerian airspace safe, Captain Najoma?
The Nigerian airspace is very safe, Sheil. Very safe, I can assure you.
Okay, so, I mean, beyond what you have said, how would Nigerians who are watching you tonight believe what you have said? By evidence, by data, by whatever means possible tonight. Please convince us that the Nigerian airspace is safe.
Okay, thank you very much. I can tell you that because, I've flown in this airspace in the last 45 years. So I can tell you the last 3 years, yes, I've not been flying, but however, in the last 40 years, yes, I've flown. I know how unsafe or safe the airspace has been. If we come to talk of what happens in the 2005, 2006, then there were a lot of incidents and accidents. But within the last, I can assure you, within the last 10 years or so, thereabout, the airspace is very safe. We've done a lot of enhanced surveillances. Our inspectors are checking our operators day in, day out, and making sure that comply with all the regulation, making sure that their airplanes are well maintained, making sure that their pilots do their simulator recurrency as when due, so the airplane is safe. Not to talk of how safe the Nigerian Airspace Management Agencies with using whatever equipment that they have, making sure that the airspace is safe. They have done pretty well, and I know that right now the Honorable Minister is doing all around change all those old equipments to modern equipment. But can I assure you, the airspace is safe.
What category do we stand on the FAA listing?
Right now, we've dropped from category 1 back to category 2 as it is right now. And it's not due to safety reasons, because it's due to because there are no airlines operating into the U.S. airspace. As you can see, the last operator that operated it was ARIC, and I was part of one of those people that flew into New York. And when ARIC stopped, of course, after a while, because we stopped flying and there was no Nigerian registered airplane that flew into the U.S. airspace, we lost the Category 1 status. So we are waiting. As soon as any airline that is ready to fly into the airspace, back into the U.S. airspace, we will of course apply, and they'll come and re-audit us and give us the Category 1 status.
So when you say, Captain Ajomo, that the Nigerian airspace is safe, one, we wonder that we suffer, and those who are inside, on the inside, we tell you that we have a lot of outdated, archaic surveillance system and airport navigation control systems at our airports. What was the last time we changed some of these things? And the promise that when I had a conversation with the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, he is saying that under this administration, there will be a new regime in terms of re-equipping our airports for safety. But how old are these navigation systems? Some of our airports, you can't even fly into them anything after 6:30, 7 p.m.
Yes, thank you for that question again, Sheung. Like the Honorable Minister has tried a lot, and he has traveled a lot with the Managing Director of NAMA in sourcing of changing this old archaic equipment. I can tell you the controllers, the engineers that are managing these present equipments have tried their best to keep them going and safe. A lot of work has been done to change this equipment, and it's ongoing. I tell you, give us some time, all these equipments will be changed. Talking about navigational equipment for landing in these various airports, like the ILSs, it's not only that they are old. Most of the airports have all this landing equipment for landing. It's just that there's this sunset time that makes the airport closes, and as a matter of fact, work is ongoing between me, NAMA, and FAN for us to now open the airports till about 10 p.m. We had a meeting last week, and we're having another meeting next week to be able to synchronize and make sure that these airports remain open. That will now, of course, help in alleviating the problems these our local operators have, so that once we open the airports till about 10 p.m., there will be no need of cancellation or delays of flights into these airports. There are just a few of those airports. Most of the airports, especially in the north, they all have the ILSs that is needed to go into these airports.
I know that regulators will say that some of these airports, we don't own them. But there are some airports in Nigeria, Captain Ajomo, you will testify that they don't bring any kind of confidence when you walk into this airport. And not shaming anybody from these states, Akure Airport is one of it. It looks to me like all those local garages where night buses converge for transportation. And like I mentioned, some part of the Port Harcourt Airport, and in fact, some smaller airports in Nigeria, you imagine, why are these airports in this state? Because when you walk into them, and you know you are flying through this airport, you have a double mind about flying, because those airports, and there are small airports across the globe that have only 2 carousels, but well, they are clean and sparkling good, looking good. And when you walk in there, you have the confidence that you are flying in a safe place.
Yes, I can assure you that work is ongoing. Like I tell you, these airports, our work is ongoing. Our amiable and very, very strong MD of FAN is doing all she can to make sure all these airports facilitation are all ongoing. And please give this regime some time. You will see that there will be a total change in all these airports. As we speak, a lot of work is ongoing.
Before I go into the specifics of the Max Air situation, I know that the minister announced the Dana issue recently, and safety also was a problem. We'd like to get an update on that, but before we go into that, I'm still talking about safety issue. According to the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, Nigeria has a concerning safety record, with a 2021 ranking of 47 out of 54 countries in Africa. How does the NCAA plan to address these statistics and restore confidence in Nigeria's aviation sector of airspace?
We are doing all we can, and we're carrying all checks that are done. As far as ICAO is concerned, we know we've done safety audits, and the last audit that was carried out here, we scored 71%, just to show that there's room for improvement. We've closed all the gaps that are meant to be closed. We've closed them and are still closing more. And I can tell you and beat our chest that if they come back and do this audit, there are a lot of things that we have put in place right now that will make that score go higher than what we have.
So let me go specifically into the incident of the MAX Air, the suspension of the MAX Air operations at the Kano Airport, which is raising significant concerns amongst those who fly through that route. Can you provide a more detailed account as of today, as of this moment that you have, based on that last night incident about 10 p.m.? What more do we know? What more can you tell Nigerians tonight?
Okay. When this thing happened last night, we were called out, and of course, I must be honest with you, what we have done since I came on board here is a lot of surveillance enhancements, a lot of audits. We've decided, I gave the order for them to do risk assessment of all scheduled operators, and as we speak, we have done six airlines, 6 of them, notable Arik Air, Overland, Ebom, Air Peace, Rano, and Max Air. We've done risk assessment. And these risk assessments all includes but organization, infrastructure, safety management, compliance, and practices. And because of this, when we carried it out, the one we came out of Max Air wasn't good enough. So when this thing happened, in fact, we just finished that of Max Air last week. So when this thing happened, we now call for a meeting because it's just one too many. Max Air had a problem in Yola, had a problem in an incident in Maiduguri, and now in Kano. So we called for a meeting, and we called the management of Max Air to a meeting. And we told them, well, we need you to tell us these things have happened one too many, and they have of course told us that yes, this is what happened. But I must also say one thing. I must commend the pilot to have been able to control that nose wheel, because when the aircraft landed, the nose wheel collapsed, and it's very difficult to maintain center line when a nose wheel collapses, because that's where you get the directional control of the airplane. But the pilot was good enough to be able to maintain, and the tires busted. And thank God that passengers were evacuated. Nobody had any injuries or anything, and the aircraft was pulled out of the runway. So Max Air has now told us that we have decided to ground our operations, so that our local operations, so that we can look inwardsly, because we gave them the indices of the risk assessment, which we brought out, and it was not looking good. So I was told, you can give you 3 months. They said 1 month. Said no, give you 3 months to be able to look at yourselves and make sure that you come out with all the indices that we have given you, that is in the yellow, and we'll come back in 3 months' time and give you another assessment. And this time around, it will be a thorough assessment to make sure that you're ready to fly back safely before we release you back on your local route. That is what we have done.
When the statement came from Michael, there are 2 major things that were identified. One was a wheel landing gear collapse and a tire burst. The other one was a tire burst. All of these happened on the wrong way. Beyond that, Captain, are there any specific regulatory violations that the NCAA has identified?
Well, we have identified that this is occurrences happening one too many. You cannot have an occurrence in Yola, have an occurrence in Maiduguri, and then have an occurrence again in Kano. You know, so right now, as it is, the NSIB, which is the accident investigator, is investigating. You know, we cannot put our hands into what has happened. So the NSIB is investigating right now. And once they come out with their investigation, they'll come out with clear terms of what has happened. You know, if it's a real accident, they will say it's an accident. If it's an incident, we are also investigating on our own part, you know, before we have handed over to NSIB to do the investigation. So that's what is happening right now. So we cannot really say a statement until NSIB says this is what happened, this is what happened.
Without any prejudice
we know that the airplane landed, nose will collapse, and the tire burst. That's what we know as the regulator.
Without any prejudice to the investigation that the authorities, the regulators are going to make, you've been in the skies for several years. You've flown several times. There are some of you whom experts will say there are those of you who can close your eyes and still fly an aircraft. That is how much you have flown in the sky. So there are some things that will happen that you almost will tell that this could be the issue. Human error based on the aircraft malfunctioning, or based on, because, I mean, how can you imagine that those kind of issues happen, whether mechanical or electrical or some kind of negligence? What would you say could be a possible, based on the history that Max has had recently, what do you think that could have been a possible situation in the immediate?
I cannot say anything for now, you know, because there's an investigation going on. But as the pilot concerned, I've flown for 45 years. I know that, like I said, what I only said was that I give kudos to the captain who controlled the aircraft, because you see, the control of when you land to taxi the aircraft is your nose wheel. That's where the control is. So if he's able to make sure that the aircraft stays on the center line with whatever control he has controlled, that means he tried. I cannot tell you right now until the African investigator comes and does its preliminary investigation and tells us. But that's the best I can. You know, tire burst happens, you know, and nose wheel sometimes collapses, you know, if due to, you know, wear and tear, and due to one reason, maybe some hard landings, nose wheel, you know, landing heavily and all that, it could collapse, you know. So that's what I can say in that regard.
But Captain, a B-734, that is the brand of that aircraft, is a Boeing, a twin engine, short to medium range airliner. There are capability. Could that also have helped because of the brand of engine and that class of that has helped for us to have seen a minimal incident in that particular incident on that runway?
Well, it's well, I can tell you, it's a 737. It's not about the particular how big or how small. An accident when it happens, or an incident when it happens. Again, like I said, it all depends on the phase of the accident. You know, some accidents happen on approach, some happen on landing, some happen on takeoff. But thank God this one happened on landing. And probably on the landing roll, as soon as the nose wheel is touching down, the nose wheel, you know, probably just collapsed at that time. So we give God the glory that that is where it stopped. There was no damage, no injuries, or fatal, anything fatal that happened to passengers.
I can imagine what was going through the minds of those who are on that aircraft. For some of us who scare easy, a little turbulence, some of us might have lost it. But then thank God that God allowed them to land safely and they are all intact. But we understand that Max Air will still have its international flight operations going on despite what happened. Can you explain how that is happening, or why that is happening?
Yes. you know, there are two different types of, there are two fleets. The B 737 fleet is what he uses for his domestic operation. And he uses the Boeing 747 and the 777, that is what he uses for his international operations. And what he does for international operations are the Hajj operations and the Umrah operations. We have no findings in his international operations. So it is his local operation that we've found findings on, and we've told them it will not affect his international operations. Thank you.
Before I allow you go, Captain, prevention, they say, is better than cure. And one will imagine that every regulator responsible for the safety of our airspace will ensure that any aircraft, no matter how big or small, before it lifts off any of the airports in Nigeria, is certified okay and good enough to fly in our skies. Can you assure Nigerians and tell us tonight, Captain, what you and your team are doing to ensure that we'll never find this kind of situation happening in our country again under your watch?
Thank you, Sean. Thank you. I can assure everybody here that the NCAA is doing all it can right now to enforce that so much enhanced surveillance is going on. As I speak, our inspectors are on the ramp on a daily basis to check every airline. Once they are coming in and they are going out, the boarding, departing, in all the 5 regional stations where we are. We're in Abuja, we're in Port Harcourt, we're in Kano, we're in Kaduna, we're in Lagos. So these are the 5 regions. And in all the airports, we have inspectors and we have CPOs in all the airports, in all the 22, 23 airports we have. So I can assure everybody that the NCAA is on top of its game, making sure that they do all their enhanced surveillance, making sure they check all the pilots, making sure they have their rest period, making sure they have their simulators and all. It's not even only the scheduled operators. We also check the private jets operators. So I can assure you we're on top of the game, and this will never happen by His grace again.
Captain Chris Najoma is the acting DG of the NCAA, but a lot of people are wondering, I hope this will not cause any kind of flight disruptions.
Definitely, it will cause. We told them to promise us that they must make sure that they rebook their passengers on the 2 other carriers that operate the same route, which is Air Peace and Rano, and they have an understanding. The vice chairman of MAXE told us they have an understanding, and where they cannot rebook their passengers, they will give total refund. So it will not cause any of those things like you envisaged.
Thank you so much. May all the birds flying in the skies not experience any turmoil to the extent of crashing into any tree or crash landing. I'm talking about our airspace in Nigeria. Thank you so much, Captain Chris Najoma, who is the Acting Director General of the NCAA. Thanks so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
I appreciate
it.
Let's go to a more chaotic atmosphere. And it was in the rank of the PDP. Today, we saw the meeting of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. And of course, the Board of Trustees meeting held today. But a clash between supporters, we will be talking about this when we return from this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. It was the Board of Trustees meeting today at the headquarters of the People's Democratic Party. And as that was going on the inside, something strange was happening outside. A clash between supporters of Mr. Samuel Anyanwu and those of Ude Okoye were both laying claim to the office of the National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Temporarily disruption of the Board of Trustees meeting occurred And trouble started when some staff of the PDP were loyal to embattled National Secretary Samuel Anyanwu questioned Mr. Ude Okoye's presence at the meeting and tried to forcefully pull him out. Mr. Ude Okoye and Samuel Anyanwu are both laying claim to the office of the National Secretary of the party, a matter that is now before the Supreme Court. However, the acting national chairman of the party is blaming leaders of the PDP, including some members of the Board of Trustees, for the unresolved crisis in the party. I'll allow you to listen to Mr. Damagum and, of course, the PDP Board of Trustees chair. Take a listen to them.
Let me express my profound disappointment over the crisis currently rocking the leadership of the National Working Committee. As elder statesmen and women, leaders who hold the trust of the generality of our party members and the public, it is disheartening that these issues have not been resolved. The failure to resolve these internal conflicts undermines the strength and credibility of our great party. It is therefore imperative that the National Working Committee rises above personal interests and places the survival and progress of our great party above all considerations. In the light of these challenges, I must emphasize the urgent need for a National Executive Committee meeting, NEC. I again urge the National Working Committee to honor its words and convene the NEC meeting as scheduled in February 2025.
Most of this crisis that you see today within the NWC is propelled by our leaders that are supposed to unite us. Some of us are also complicit, and I want to use this opportunity to caution us, caution our leaders. You may have ambition, but you don't ride on a dead horse to reach your destination.
There you have it. Chief Adolphorus Wabara, who is the chair of the People's Democratic Party Board of Trustees, and Mr. Umar Damagum, the acting national chairman of the party. Let's get one of the elders of the party. All right, who was a former national vice chairman of the party and also a member of the Reconciliation Committee. I don't know whether his committee failed in their duties because at the day in Yoruba land, literally meaning that the elders cannot be in the marketplace while the head of the infant is being twisted. Chief Ediola Feso joins us live on our program tonight. Thank you so much indeed. Have you and your team failed in reconciling this party and the aggrieved persons? Because the Olagunso Yonyolola committee, which you are a member of, is supposed to reconcile, but weeks after that committee was constituted, see what was happening today. People were knocking each other's head in scuffle.
This has been long coming. Quite frankly, these are not the best of times for our party. In the face of the challenges this country is facing, the major opposition party should be in position to direct, to ensure that we encourage our people to know that hope is on the way. And the Olagunso Yolola Reconciliation Committee has not failed. We were inaugurated in August, and we have completed a zone. We've completed the Southwest, we've visited, and tomorrow we'll be in the Northeast. And we have spoken to scores of our leaders, and we are very confident that by the time we're done, most of these problems could have been resolved. I think what is happening to us is existential, because what happens to PDP will eventually have an impact on Nigeria. The greatest fear any one of us Democrats would have, including your good self, is the danger and the fear of a one-party state. May it not happen to us. So we take our job very seriously, and many of us in the Reconciliation Committee are tested leaders of the party that must have devoted a portion of their life in seeing that this party is built. I don't know. I was just landing when this happened. I'm here to get the details of what happened at Wadacha this afternoon, but then nothing justifies it. There must be decency, decorum in the way issues are resolved amongst leaders.
Chief Olafeso,
yeah.
Just for a moment. Yeah. Look at this. Members of the People's Democratic Party at what's supposed to be the most decorous, the most a safe haven, where you have party and democratic issues being discussed. How would you describe this kind of behavior? If you see a man who wanted to hit a police officer there, how would you describe it?
Shameful.
Are you ashamed to be a member of this kind of institution?
Not at all.
That people are beating themselves up?
This is just a mere occurrence that happened today, and those involved should be the ones to be blamed. I carry so many years of PDP performance and contribution to this nation from 1999. We were not young. What we are losing to the street is the fact that few of the younger generation today don't know what Nigeria was before 1999. Some well-seasoned citizens of this country came together to present to Nigeria a party that will have a national outlook. And that was the birth of PDP. From 1999, when Chief Obasanjo took over for the last 8 years, Nigeria was rebuilding. From massive debt to being a pariah state, this country turned out to be, the best destination in Africa for any form of investment. So why will I be ashamed of those past and then decide my future on the premises of what is happening?
Are these urchins or are they real members of your party?
How will I know? The truth
based
is
on
that
their behavior.
You linked it with two individuals, which we need to find out exactly what transpired. I told you, I was landing where you called me. So the only place I've been to is the Charles station. I'm still going to find out exactly what transpired.
The question is
but then
this was supposed to be Chief Olafeso.
It was a build. It was a build up to what.
I know you as a gentleman. I'm not
yes,
sure that your knuckles are strong enough to fight any physical fight at this stage of our life in a country as this. I mean, an opposition party that's supposed to be discussing policy. Look at what is happening in your party. Is your party serious at all? Because we're talking of an opposition party to keep the APC on their toes. Are you serious with your job as a party?
Looking at this is part of what exactly the Reconciliation Committee was set up for, part of what the Disciplinary Committee was set up for in August, to begin to see how we can reposition ourselves. In the last, in the Fourth Republic, there is no way you can actually use this moment to define the People's Democratic Party. I would disagree with that. But then it has come to this, which means there is a clear and present danger. And the danger is existential. And that's the reason why I mentioned it to you that, my brother, if we don't stem the tide, if we don't get serious as quickly as possible, and Olagunsoye Oyinlola is a very serious officer, and a gentleman who I have absolute respect for, and that's the reason why we're pushing all over the country. By tomorrow we'll be in Bauchi. We're speaking with our governors, we're speaking with our senators, we're looking at how far we've gone so wrong. Believe me, many Nigerians don't know us. They didn't know there was a time in this country where a bag of rice was 2,500. They didn't know that Obasanjo paid up our debt completely. They cannot remember when people were just coming, free flow of foreign direct investment into this country. Of all the presidents we produced, Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, and Jonathan, it was a great moment for our country under this same party. And there is no way we're going to say we don't have a future anymore. I can guarantee you something, these two shall pass.
Is this looks like an own goal. I mean, can you blame anybody for it other than yourselves?
Not at all. Most of our woes are the ones created by ourselves.
So those blaming outsiders or the other political parties for your problem?
They are very unserious. If you're blaming other political parties, blame yourself. When APC was in the trenches against us, how come they did not succumb to us? Look, it was a gala of propaganda against the party. What have we done enough to the point that we'll be fighting each other, apart from throwing the punches at APC that has actually created crisis for this country, as we witness today?
So your PDP should blame itself for its present.
That is my problem. That is my personal opinion. And
is Wike your problem in your party?
How can individual? I don't like mentioning. How can
is Atiku your problem?
How can an individual be the problem of a party?
I'm of judgmental too.
No, he's
because people narrow it down to the differences between these two men.
Hell no, it cannot be. I'm a very sincere person, and a lot of people that understand my politics knows fully well that I speak the truth. It's far beyond these individuals. Some people are supporting Atiku, some are supporting Wike. What about the ideological position, the vision of the party that we should need to support? What sacrifices have we made to make life better for other people? So it cannot be individuals that we're talking about. They too are victims, if you must know. There is leadership victim emanates from the fact that, a position is carved out for you, and suddenly they made out a very huge enemy for yourself.
Because when you hear, Chief Olafeso, an allegation by Atiku Abubakar that the APC gave opposition leaders 50 million naira.
What is, I've not heard from, Vice President Atiku that kind of statement, so I cannot, on that basis, react to what I did not hear.
So the question I'm asking is that if those innuendos or assertions, or in fact, if Atiku Abubakar has evidence to that fact, and I'm wondering whether or not there's a handwriting. Verified? I mean, there is a statement to that effect, and I can read it. Yeah, I can. There's a statement to that effect.
And confirmed from.
No. There was a statement from his office to that effect.
Okay.
So the question is that
go ahead.
There are inferences that maybe, just maybe, there is an effort from the ruling party in killing opposition party.
Obviously, every ruling party will do everything possible to ensure that they disable the opposition party if they are not serious, if they are not focused, if they have no vision. How come we did not, truncate APC? So are you telling us that during the time they came between 2012, 2013 and 2014 that we don't make efforts to dislodge them? Were they dislodged? To me, that is just begging the issue. The reality of it is that Nigerian people are hungry. Things are not going, things are not auguring well for our people. So if we want to take leadership seriously, we must begin to learn to sacrifice and focus on how to build a better nation for our people. So what the situation is that how come Tinubu himself held on to Lagos when we were in office? Because he created, without any constitutional, backing, LCDs in Lagos, and was denied his allocation for months, if not years. The man survived because he believed that what he was doing was the best for his people. I'm saying this not because I'm a member of APC. I don't relate with them, and they all know me for being a PDP person from day one. Dr. Agagu brought me to this party, and I remain since I've been here. I've never changed.
Let me read to you what Atiku Abubakar said, and I quote. I want to make this public. I met with leaders of a political party in the opposition, and they openly admitted that this government gives them 50 million naira each. End of quote.
I cannot react to that show.
No, I'm saying, and you have said because anyone who is insinuating.
What is the definition of Judas Iscariot?
No, the question is, if you said anyone who is saying that the problem of the PDP is caused by outsiders, they're not serious.
Has that been investigated?
No, the APC has been responding to it.
Wait a minute. I'm asking you, if it's been investigated and these people have been found guilty of taking money from the APC, what have we done to them? That is the reason why I said we have more responsibility to rein in our people and create a highly disciplined party.
Do you see your party sinking further to the ground?
No.
You lost in Akure, in Ondo.
Yes,
you lost in Edo.
No.
Osun election is coming.
You were there. You were a living witness to Edo and Ondo. The truth is that what happened was not democracy or any electoral process. It was just purchasing, buying, and rigging. That was all. The whole process was compromised. I screamed and yelled to the world about a week or two to our election that there is an invasion of the state and quantum of our money have been unleashed on our people. It was rumored that over 30 billion was spent on an election to put a governor on a seat when people cannot get any hospital to go to, no school to take their children, no food to eat.
And that was the explanation for the winning in all the 18 local government, what they call 18-0 on the APC side.
We didn't participate. PDP knew for sure that you cannot trust somebody that they deployed 23,000 police officers to Ondo State. Was there any single arrest? So why did they spend all that money?
Because
and listen, this election, this local government election, was conducted by APC itself, known for its non-compliance to electoral laws, and they are never known to have equity and dignity of purpose in the process of electioneering. How come they won everywhere? That is the question. That is the question begging for an answer. There's no democracy here. There are no elections. It's been subverted, and you too, everybody knows. And that's the reason why we're reeking in pain. How can this be our lot in the 21st century? You saw what happened in Ghana. Do you think that can happen in Nigeria? I am so much afraid for the future than for this present, because I can see hands of the opposition preparing themselves to unleash on Nigerians what we have not seen before in the years ahead. And that's the reality. So what is happening here today is something that we must have to deal with and ensure that they are dealt with. So the message you read to me, if it is true that some people have actually compromised themselves, then there are processes in our constitution that, discipline such characters, and they can be suspended, they can be expelled for portraying the party in a bad light and betraying it. So, for me...
We've seen political parties come and go.
Yes.
Some live and die.
Yes.
And I can mention to you, in my very short stay here, that we've seen political parties that go in this manner, very much in the prominence, and gradually they fizzle out. Are you worried that your party, PDP, is wearing out and may fizzle out if care is not taken?
Thank you. The care is what we're taking. The care is what is critical, that leaders must come together. As bad as things are for all, we still have 12 governors performing brilliantly in their states. You can go to Oyo, you can go to Osun, you can go to Bauchi, you can go to Rivers. They are doing excellently well. What we need is to begin to manage ourselves better than we have done in the past. Let me tell you some of our deficiencies. We came into power in 1999. We were not opposition to anybody. The military midwifed all the process, and we came in. So we never actually acquainted ourselves with a battle of, through which you can fight your way back to power when you're in opposition. So a lot of things we're learning at this process. I'm not saying, and I will not, ignore the fact that, a very deft ruling party like APC will do everything to undermine us. But the truth is that, is it right for us to undermine ourselves? I'm speaking loudly on television. I cannot be undermined when it comes to my being a member of this People's Democratic Party. And I will never take money from anybody to betray my own party.
Ambition, they say, is at the heart of all of this. If you have your way, would you say Atiku Abubakar should run again for president?
Where is it in the Constitution that says that Atiku Abubakar cannot run? The people will decide. That is the reason why you have primaries, you have national convention, people will sit and decide. All these people, who do we pick So we will now decide on our own, and then deny an individual his right to express himself in whatever way he feels. I don't think that is right.
So
and you know too, that is
Abubakar can run all he likes.
That is not democracy. It is the people that will tell Atiku Abubakar time is enough. And sorry, we're not going to vote for you this time. And that is nobody's right to say, no, Waziri, you cannot run because you've been running for too long. What happens to Abraham Lincoln in America?
The reason why I asked that question was that was the genesis of the problem of this party from the last primaries, in the presidential primaries.
Who said so?
I know so. I monitored your party activities, and I was at the primary.
It was the genesis?
And I saw the aftermath. This was the genesis of the immediate problem that you are facing. From that, it led to the crisis against Senator Ayu. From that, it went on to Wike up in arms against the process and saying, look, this process was not, there's no integrity in the process, and things went sour. It went south, and it's going further south.
Consider that your personal opinion, because other people may have something different from that.
Okay, so what would you adjudge as where the genesis of what you're seeing today?
It is failure of leadership. It's not because Atiku ran. Failure of leadership to actually look.
Is it because Atiku ran or Atiku won?
No,
because I'm giving you an inference, sir. Just for a moment. I gave you an inference to what I imagine based on my observation and reporting as a reporter, that what I saw as the genesis of the present problem was at that primaries at the National Stadium.
What I feel we did not do, it's not about somebody winning or losing. It is coordinating our actions immediately after that, convention. If we have brought everybody together and, provide leadership, let me tell you, the election that eventually played out, did not, the current president did not win. It was not a majority president. He scored, between Peter Obi and Atiku, you have almost about 12 million votes. So the current president will be languishing behind with about 5 million votes. And then you're now telling me, if we've been able to reconcile all this, do you know Peter Obi ran with Waziri in the previous election? And that everybody that eventually, played against each other, that provided the opportunity for a minority president to take over power was because leadership did not manage the outcome.
Chief Olafesa, with your experience,
yes.
Do you think the PDP should court Peter Obi to assure your party of victory?
Not only Peter Obi, every person that is somebody in this country that can actually garner 1 or 2 votes must be spoken with. It is not only here that you have alliances, you have people working together to be able to win an election. It happened in Ghana just not a long time ago. And that's exactly what we all should do at this moment. No single party can defeat APC alone.
All right.
Don't let us delude ourselves. We must all come together to fight. And the reality of
no single candidate that ran in 2023 can single-handedly defeat Tinubu and the APC in 2027.
It will be very delusional if you do things like that.
So you must, the opposition must come
together.
On a final note,
yes.
Is it possible that you can call Atiku Abubakar and Nyesom Wike to the same room to resolve the party problem? Do you see that happening? Can Olaguzo Yonyula make that happen?
How about the wars fought in the past, the Second World War, where you have 5 to 6 million people killed? People will still come to the same table. It is not eternal. There are differences. It's not something that is not reconcilable. And the reality of it is that we will walk through that door and bring everybody together, because we have all failed and fallen short of His glory by not doing the right thing. I said it is leadership failure that we have to allow all those things go on for too long, allowing our governors to descend to what we're doing and not looking for a common ground on which we all stand. And that's what I stand for. Reconciliation, a process. It's a process, not something you do and cut short within a split second. Chief, and that's why we're moving at it.
Chief Eddie Olafesa is still very optimistic about reconciling all these elements that one would
so.
think are the most difficult to reconcile as far as the PDP is concerned today. But thank you so much indeed, Chief Adiola Afeso. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
I would love to return anytime so that we have more time.
A former national vice chairman of the PDP and a member of the reconciliation of the PDP. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching tonight. I'm Sean Okimale. I'll see you next time. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you.